Hey everyone, it's been a bit since we've done one of these, so I just figured, like, why not? Let's do it again. Let's do another Wrestle review. This time, focusing on a local promotion that, well, I could say, like, it doesn't get enough love, but in the local area, it gets a lot of love, and the shows are very, very well attended. But I'm talking about SCW Pro, the former Scott County Wrestling. They've been a Quad Cities, Iowa area staple off and on for the last 20 years in terms of professional wrestling. And its biggest claim to fame is probably the production of WWE superstar Seth Rollins. Today, they're still a small indie, but got a lot of indie street cred to them without, rapid expansion or anything like that. It actually serves as kind of the base promotion for Seth Rollins and Merrick Brave's Black and Brave Wrestling Academy in Davenport, Iowa. So most of the graduates that come through the Black and the Brave go to SCW for at least a short stint, sometimes, longer. I'm looking at guys like Steve Manders, the one called Manders, who was part of SCW for like the last 5 years, 6 years or so, and is just kind of finally moving on as more and more opportunities to perform elsewhere are given to him. Others are just kind of like hanging out there, which is, welcome to the world of independent wrestling. But as a whole, they put on very good shows. And despite how flippant I will be on social media about some of the wrestlers, and even within this review, I'm still a big fan of the product, obviously, because if you, check out some of the stuff they put online, you can occasionally see me in the background, or, like, obviously, if you pay attention to my social media, I also plug them quite a bit as well. So, that being said, we are going to get back into some of the vaults. I mean, not terribly far. If you do the SCW Patreon, you'll get a lot farther. But going back to the halcyon days of 2018 with Epic. Epic is one of kind of like the 4 big shows of the year for SCW. Takes place in the Cole Ballroom, which has like one of my favorite entrances for like your small low-level indies, with people coming down from the upper decks of the seating. The show starts off with a promo from their top tag team, or one of the top tag teams. Obviously, they're not the top tag team because they don't have the belts anymore, but the team of Sage Kanan and Dante Leon. Sage has since moved on from SCW, but Dante is still with the company and starting to get some street cred with some stellar performances out east, most notably with Game Changer Wrestling. Though, not a fan. Not a fan. Even back in those days, I referred to them as the coffee shop boys because they look like guys that, sit in the local coffee shops strumming away at their guitar, which could be probably further from the truth, but that's just how they come off to me, and I'm an utter dickbag. Anyway, the show starts off with a promo from them. They put down their opponents for the evening, the Revolution, the team of Dion Roosman and Robin Steele. They are being managed by Knight Wagner. They have just kind of come together themselves, and they would eventually form the unit known as Infamy, along as Joe Asa, who we'll be seeing later on the show. But in the meanwhile, they're under the tutelage of SCW original Knight Wagner. But Kanan and Leon want everyone to know that Roosman, Robin Steele, the Revolution are going to get the business here tonight. So, our first match, 2-on-2 tag team action. The Revolution, Dion Roosman and Robin Steele take on Sage Kanan and Dante Leon. Before we can get the match underway proper, Knight Wagner has the microphone, is threatening to burn SCW down and rebuild SCW in the image of the Revolution. We get intros for Kanan and Leon, and once they get down to the ring, it's on. We don't even have a bell. It's just hot and heavy action. In the most polite way possible, Sage Kanan tries to get himself a chair from the crowd.
Let him borrow the chair.
Of course, with all this action, brawling outside, everyone's got to get their stuff in. We have lots of dives. We have a tope on Elo from Dante Leon. Sage himself hits a moonsault in addition to jumping off children's chairs. Eventually, though, we get into the ring and the bell sounds. We actually have a match. And from here, things kind of slow down a touch because this is where the heels kind of come in and take over. And despite being very, very early in their careers, both Steele and Roosman show like a nice little grasp of tag team wrestling, cutting off the ring, you know, knowing their ring position, keeping the partners away from each other. So, you know, I could be an internet mark and hide behind my camera here and be like, oh, they slowed things down and made things boring. But no, it is solid fundamental wrestling, and which is really like what we can ask for wrestlers that are, you know, barely a year into their career, like Steele and Roosman. That being said, this match isn't without, you know, some blunders. But, you know, it's all well and good. The heels are working over the faces quite a bit until we get the hot tag in and just get this nifty little swanton over a bench of Roosman leading into the hot tag spot itself. Through cutter by Leon, that only gets a 2 count. We get just get a double stomp package pile driver combo. It gets broken up by Roosman, so we don't get the finish there, even though, you know, at least they had a good reason to kick out a pile driver, because I hate people kicking out of a pile driver, but that's, you know, just me. Just pandemonium run wild from here. We get like a bunch of shenanigans, of course, because things have now broken down. In the meanwhile, Robin misses a big knee strike and gets a quick jackknife pin by Sage Kanan to get the 1-2-3. Your winners, Sage Kanan and Dante Leon. A very fun match. As I said, like, I'll make fun of especially Dante Leon quite a bit, but you know, they're fun. It was a fun tag team match, solid opener to get the crowd going. This would not be the last time we see Knight Wagner and his Revolution tonight, as they are kind of all over the show, as their formation is kind of like the big overarching storyline for SCW at this time. The one thing that I will make a complaint about that is quasi-legit is just everybody had the same color scheme and like ring attire for this match. We're really, if you catch the videos, you'll see like everybody just had long black tights, and eventually all of them, you know, would break out and add a dash of color to their wardrobe. But like just seeing 4 guys, 3 of whom had longish hair with long black tights, it just kind of like made everyone look the same, or harken back to like 1952, whichever way you want to look at it. Now we got some fatal 4-way action, big cluster, which if you've paid attention to my podcast, MLW Confusion, I am terrible at running down these multi-man matches because there's just so much going on in general, but I do my best. Sure, that's what we'll call it. This is my best. Can't get any better from here. A fatal 4-way match featuring the future Shane Boucher, currently known as Shane Bender, Brandon McBride, Chase Holiday, and Ross Resnick, the Haas of the batch. A lot of these guys would kind of like came through quick. Like, I'm not really familiar with Chase Holiday, what he's done. Brandon McBride, though, like, I thought he kind of had something outside of being like a bit on the small side, but welcome to the world of independent wrestling. Ross, I thought like would be kind of a guy that would be kind of the future of SCW, and he just kind of fluttered away. Does come back periodically for like one-off appearances though. But Shane Boucher has had a slight gimmick change now, and he's still hanging around SCW as a New Orleans boy, tossing out beads for everyone who don't deserve the beads. Kids, ask your parents what that reference ultimately means. Anyway, things are going to go cray-cray because it is fatal 4-way action, as I said. Yeah, things are just going to go fast and furious. Things just like start breaking down, getting fists and punches in. Everyone's getting their stuff in, taking turns, knocking each other down with their big moves. We get a tope suicida by Chase. You know, that's recurring theme in independent wrestling. Tope con Ilo by Boucher, Bender. I'm going to keep calling him Boucher because that's how I know him as anymore. But it's just, you know, cray, insane in the membrane. We get an interesting Tower of Doom spot. And then, like, some weird, like, after a batch of getting your stuff in, a weird little, like, I call it a double train wreck by Ross Resnick. But it is also crazy, which we'll just cut to that now. And just all sorts of highlights here. Ultimately, though, Bender hits a diving elbow drop. Looks like he's going to have the match when Brandon McBride comes in, dumps Bender out to steal the victory, and really cements McBride as a slime ball heel, which we'll kind of see him evolve into in the future, eventually get himself a valet that he treats poorly, of course, too, but he's the old school, like, win by any means necessary, and by any means necessary, I mean breaking every rule that he possibly can, of course. Up next, we get a little promo for this time for Sensei Bach. Local legend in SCW, always has signs present for his existence, even though I haven't seen him in quite some time in an SCW ring. But he is a practitioner of Bach Kwon Do, and when he's not doing actual, you know, martial arts, he is a DDP yoga instructor in and of itself. But he usually attracts at least one young boy, apprentice, student is probably the best word for it. This time, young Jimmy Thomas, Rookie of the Year. Now, he's still in SCW as primetime James Thomas. Very fun guy to watch. You love watching him anytime he's near the ring, for just the sheer personality aspect of it alone. But right now, he is not the teacher. He is the student. But Bach is meditating, getting his deep breathing in, getting ready for the one called Manders for the QC Cup. Jimmy's in the background trying to kind of like emulate Bach and, you know, be a good student. And I don't think he's getting the breathing down. But, you know, whatever. Never mind that. I'm cheering for them because, one, I like Jimmy. And two, if you paid attention to my social media, I have an undying hatred for the one called Manders. Still the Iowa Hawkeye at this point of his career. The Iowa Hawkeye, Steve Manders. He has a real first name even. Still kind of sort of a cowboy, which he's always been a cowboy. It's just he's varying shades of cowboy and, hey, I played football in college and I wear a cowboy hat. Anywho, you know, the high spot of the match, this is a lie, the match actually is better, but I, you know, giggled almost immediately because during the entrances, Jimmy takes himself a big pratfall. Manders comes in before the match can even like properly begin. Also seems to be a kind of a reoccurring theme here tonight. Bach attacks Manders. We do get the bell ringing. Thomas is also getting in there, getting some, we'll call it vulture attacks, like picking on Manders while he's down and in arm's reach. Bach, after this, kind of slows down the pace, just, you know, deep breathing exercises, master the Zen martial arts, Bach Kwon Do. You can't just be wasting all of your energy if you don't get the win right away. So we got to take things down a notch, relax. You know, but all for naught. Thomas tries to get some more interference in, and it doesn't work as Manders hits this nifty little elevator combo on them. We get some more interference by Thomas, which leads to a nifty little spot where he gets slingshotted into the ring, caught, and turned into a power slam itself. is a distraction, though,
that, like,
following this,
I couldn't get
which
through
Box
it once
Box
properly.
briefly makes his comeback, but we get the Oklahoma Stampede. Manders' current finisher, things that haven't changed all that much, gets the 3 count. Still, your QC Cup champion, the Iowa Hawkeye, Steve Manders. One of these days, Manders, we will meet, and you will wipe the floor with me. All right, despite my grumpiness, we still have more matches to take care of. Next, the Revolution. This time, their leader, Knight Wagner, taking on young gun Travis Titan. Travis Titan, a lot of fun to watch. Has had some matches for AEW, Dark, of course. But while being a former SCW champion at this point, but he, as I said, like everyone else in this video, pretty young in their career, showing off the great things to come as a worker as he gets more experience under his belt and continues to just figure out who he is and what he wants to be. I haven't properly spoken about Knight, but I love Knight Wagner, and honestly, his biggest skill is his mouth. He is one heck of a talker. I feel like he's kind of like glossed over. Probably could have done a lot more as a manager in general, but like when he has the microphone, ultimately that's when he shines overall. But otherwise, as a heel, when he's not talking, he's just kind of an old school guy as well. And slow things down. Let's take a powder. He's going to start the match taking a powder, which there's nothing wrong with that ultimately, especially if you like your Memphis stuff. But the thing that just like gets me the most is yep, just nowhere. We just kind of like, you focus on Knight and the camera work is all of a sudden like, ah! And we get a squish. We do get a lot of fighting outside the ring to otherwise start out, at least on the action front. The thing that like popped me, especially just the psychology of it, is Titan actually bothered to break the count. This is an aside. I'm not gonna like pull it out into one promotion on this, but like one of my pet peeves is like the ring counts outside the ring not being anywhere near consistent. You have the I'm going to count you out count, and then there's like let's play outside for a while count. And you know, I feel like if you're paying attention to things, like this is an easy workaround and you can have a nice consistent count. Travis Titan, paying attention to things, found a workaround by being able to dive in and out of the ring. And by saying a dive, I mean he rolls in, breaks the count, comes out, breaks the plane of the ropes, therefore restarting the count, which we don't see as much in wrestling, and I feel like that's a small thing that like saves everybody rather than like have the ref look stupid by going like 1, get in the ring, get in the ring, burst. Okay, yeah, that's way too much histrionics there, but you get my drift. You know, straight count, just break it in and out. Like, you don't have to spend all that time fighting out of the ring. And if you do, you know, be smart about it, like Travis. Wow, that was a lot of words just to say be smart like Travis. So, be smart like Travis. We get inside the ring. We got, Titan maintaining control. As kind of thing is like, obviously, that's kind of like the story is, yes, Knight was a wrestler in the past, but he's, he's not really a wrestler anymore. So obviously the young buck Titan is going to take over quite a bit. Luckily though for Knight, he has the Revolution with him. So Steele and Rusman are also hanging out of the ring, offering distraction. We get, missed interference. But then it gets to be like, successful interference eventually once, Titan kind of lets his guard down. I'm also going to plug commentary on here real quick. I know this is a totally quick aside, but one of the things that SCW does in terms of commentary, they use the hot mic, the live mic, the house mic. There we go, house mic. We are house micing it up for commentary. So compared to like most wrestling broadcasts, obviously SCW is not like broadcast their shows, but so they use the house mic for commentary, and they get some, depending on who the commentary team is, they get some good stuff in there. Wagner does commentary nowadays, and he's great. Sometimes commentary's not so great, but one real smart Alex McCarthy, gets this gem in that I did have to laugh at.
Titan doesn't give up. Titan makes people tap out and says, what is he doing? Is he doing yoga?
Is that yoga? Oh, I'd probably been better in the last match where we got Bach doing all of his breathing exercises. But despite the yoga, we have a spirit battle, and if you haven't heard that enough in my podcast, you know, it's trading strikes in the middle of the ring, just teeing off back and forth, no selling until it's properly timed to sell the big strike. It leads to a double down, though, after stereo cross bodies. We get another spirit battle after this off the ground. Wagner is sent off to the ring apron, and hilarity ensues.
Thinking that he wishes this match was over. Steel and Roosman just kept him on the apron. The only way he stands a chance.
Okay, that was hilarious to me anyway. I thoroughly enjoyed that spot because it's not something you see a whole lot of people, you know, say, playing the save card when you have people outside to kind of catch you. But back in, we get a frog splash by Titan for the 2 count. Knight gets to take over very briefly. However, it's all for naught. Travis locks in the crossface, the Titan's cross. Revolution pull out the referee before we get to see the visual tap out. So the match gets to continue despite that it should be over, but Titan gets the visual victory over Wagner. But in the meanwhile, the ref just kicks the Revolution out of the ring, and while Xander Killen attacks. We get the headlock driver, he pulls Knight Wagner over Titan, and we get the 3 count. An upset victory for Knight Wagner. Again, like, it's a match filled with stories. It was a solid match. And then, of course, the big surprise of Knight Wagner getting help from Xander Killen, who's working his way back into the title rankings and has some issues with Titan, and has had issues with Titan in the past. And this will also lead to a partnership with Killen joining the Revolution itself. You know, I'm talking, but the beatdown isn't over yet. We got a gang stomping. Sage Kanan and Dante Leon come out and just kind of get things further broken down from there. Now, it is time for our match of the evening. Not our main event, of course, but this is kind of like the match that's being plugged the most. It's front and center on the poster. So, they brought in badass Billy Gunn for this family-friendly show, and it's going to go as well as you think it will be. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm going to love this here match, but the whole gag is family-friendly and Billy Gunn don't always go together, especially with his ass boys, who are not here tonight, sadly. Sad face. Tears. But Billy will be teaming with a local legend, one of the head trainers of Black and the Brave, Crotch, whose gimmick is that he, you know, despite being a family show, does a lot of pelvic thrusting. So, and like, the kids love him because kids love pelvic thrusting. Oh, that's probably crossing some sort of line, isn't it? Yeah, my sources out there telling me I can't say things like that. That is how crazy SCW gets every now and again. But so we have like a front and back connection. I don't know, like, doesn't have a proper team name, but they will be taking on a team with a name. Vicious and Delicious. The frontman, Jossie, who's now traveling the country. Even got an appearance on Raw fairly recently as a like stripper, which blows my mind. Also, like, my nephew's favorite wrestler. Not for the stripping thing, though. Also, crossing a line there, too. Oh, gosh, going to get canceled. Anywho, also JT Energy, who's stuck around, is probably one of the top heels in SCW, and has reinvented himself as the unsolved mystery because he sprays mists, most notably in my drink, which is why I bought his coffee mug. Okay. But overall, like, this match is gonna have all the shtick, and I'm here for it. They play off the whole Attitude Era thing. They play off of, like, things not being family friendly. Also, one of the taglines for JT Energy is that he's the 6-star booty, so it's going to be the 6-star booty versus Billy Gunn, the ass man, badass Billy Gunn. So we got a whole lot of things kind of going over here, and it's just crazy go nuts. Jossie gets the mic, has story time. They're the main event. Billy and Crotch come out to DX music. However, it's a family show. And as such, Billy, though, is having the time of his life. Okay, I don't actually know if that much, but he looks like he's having a lot of fun out there. And, like, throughout the entire process, like, of the night, he's, you know, I was there, and he just looked like he was having so much fun. And that was really, you know, warming the cockles of my heart to see that. So there's all this antics, you know, it's a family show. At one point, Billy gets the camera and things just go awry.
March, wait. It's a work.
Sorry, I can't. I don't know how to delete it. I'm sorry. I don't know what.
That's X-rated. That is X-rated.
Hey, stop that!
This is a PG show.
Record me!
Didn't I tell you that in the email?
Stop that!
Hey, you look guys look good on film,
No, wait.
especially when you're whining like little girls.
But so much shtick, especially between Billy and JT Energy. We get to the match itself eventually, and again, it's still shtick. Finally, the match does get to start. Crotch comes in, and we get some real wrestling. I guess no more butt jokes and pointing at our crotches aren't good enough. And I mean, not just that crotch. I mean, you know, the crotches that get us canceled. But Crotch is there to kind of play the heater for Billy, because Billy's bigger than everyone and just kind of like takes everyone down. Crotch is there to, you know, take the beatings. But Billy and Crotch do work very well together. Get some quick tags, some tandem offense in there until Jossie goes outside. And Jossie and JT take over, especially when Crotch is in the ring. Crotch gets a hot tag after botched Dudley headbutt thing. And when I say botched, I mean they just missed it. Not like, oops, the move went wrong. Like, no, they just happened to miss a headbutt because Crotch is a wee bit slippery for him. Lubed up, if you will. If I had real editing skills, I'd put up some sort of counter up there for all the things that are just going to get me in trouble in this segment alone. Anywho, Billy gets the hot tag. He cleans house. We look like we're going to get new tag team champions. However, Jossie low blows Crotch for the DQ, and the champs retain. Really fun match overall. I mean, it's like arguably the longest match of the evening. Maybe not once you count bell time in there. A lot of fun. Everything like you can expect shtick-wise. So it's not going to be a 5-star classic, but it's arguably more enjoyable than your traditional 5-star match, or at least in my humble opinion, where we're not going to go into jokes about big meaty men slapping meat. Anywho, of course, we got to send the crowd home happy, even though it's not over yet. So Billy and Crotch do get their revenge on Vicious and Delicious, get some Famousers, some tandem offense. Crotch gets his stuff in, gets a crotch rocket. So, you know, we're all happy that the match ended up happening, even with the silly DQ finish. Anywho, next match, a 2-on-1 handicap match featuring Wilhelm Armory and King Steven Youngblood taking on the Rock God Ronnie Burton. Wilhelm and Youngblood have been a tandem now for a bit at this point, with Steven being the king of SCW. He is one of the SCW originals who'd been with the company since the early 2000s. He has taken a king gimmick, but rather than just being like, I run the joint, he is, you know, taking a medieval times approach to this, so he does act a bit more, you know, Middle Ages Arthurian kind of king. So, like, the thing is, I love that he pulled out is, you know, every time there's a king in wrestling, people like to chant Burger King. Youngblood acts like he doesn't even know what a burger is, let alone a Burger King. And just did my heart proud. Wilhelm, his squire, his aide, you know, occasional tag team partner. People like to chant Corey Feldman at him because he kind of looks like Corey Feldman, and until at least he got the beard thing going on. But they've been having problems with a young upstart named Ronnie Burton. He is the second coming of Van Hammer, just nowhere near as ripped, but he may not be ripped, but at least he can play the guitar.
He's the king of Scott County, Lord Steven Youngblood!
So that's at least something. Wilhelm gets ready to announce Steven Youngblood to come to the ring. Burton interrupts on the guitar. We do eventually get a match after, you know, a lot of shouting by Wilhelm and Youngblood. And Wilhelm just runs right into a choke and gets killed. Totally ineffective, and it was great. Ronnie fights off the 2-on-1 advantage, and by fights it off, I mean he's pretty much in control the entire bloody time. Climbs up to the ropes, climbs off the top ropes with Youngblood with an impressive feat of strength.
The power of Burton! Wait, the Rock God Ronnie Burton is literally carrying the king up the ropes with him! Absolutely, the power of the Rock God. I think the king is going to get rocked tonight. This man's power is something else.
That was pretty darn impressive. We do get Wilhelm topeing into Youngblood, so another malfunction in the junction scenario. Ronnie, the big dude, hitting a slingshot plancha. We get a double suplex in the ring, power bombs for everyone, and the Rock God wins the match. I mean, this is kind of a foregone conclusion, but a lot of fun interaction between Wilhelm and Youngblood. But this was kind of like the beginning of the end for them as a duo. I'm not sure if this is like the exact point where things really started to go bad for them, but they would not be a team for much longer and would have their own feud. Wilhelm would eventually leave SCW and call himself Victor Analog, rotting our minds in the best way possible. Up next, we're getting ourselves a fancy video package running down our triple threat match for the SCW World Heavyweight Championship. Connor Braxton is competitor number 1. He is still with the company, except now he's just a major dickbag and arguably the number 1 heel in SCW right now. But he won the Best of the Bracken Blade tournament that they had a handful of years ago, featuring many students from the Black and the Brave. We definitely fixed that in post because I had some problems on that. But to get into but winning the tournament, he gets a slot to face the current champion Mason Beck. Nevin Knoxville, an SCW original who's kind of winding down his career, wants to end it on a high note and petitions Commissioner Sean Morrow to be put into the match as well. Nevin Knoxville has to earn his slot, and because he's a good guy, gets to do it. Wins a match by beating Joe Asa. So our next match will be for the SCW World Heavyweight Championship. Mason Beck, Connor Braxton, and Nevin Knoxville. Triple threat rules. Only one pinfall to the finish. Beck is the human horror film, despite the pictures of him that I've been posting up in this house. So like, but he's also kind of a big dude. So like, this is about as close as we're getting to like a proper Haas fight, even though Nevin is like really scrawny, but like, at least weight-wise, he probably qualifies as a Haas. I mean, he's pushing 7 feet tall, so even if he's lanky, he still has to be, you know, 225-ish, I guess, which isn't proper Haas weight, but it's also the independent scene, man, so who are we to judge? Anywho, Beck just starts clubbering on everyone like the human horror film that he is. Does eventually come down to a 2-on-1 advantage, and he gets taken down for a bit. Things break down between Knoxville and Braxton, which of course, because there can be only one winner in a triple threat match. So no matter how much tag team work you want to do with each other, only one of you is going to win, buddy. Beck returns, though, with a steel chair. We also get, like, this really crazy Doomsday crossbody roll-through that I hadn't seen quite before, at least before that night. So what I tried to say is that Beck goes outside to get a table ready, and Braxton dives out on top of him. There we go. We're not going to totally edit that. Maybe some jump cuts in there. Not going to edit it because I just want to see the look on my face as I'm like, Braxton flies as Beck diddles. Anywho, Braxton and Knoxville eventually fight over the table on the off the ring apron. Eventually, though, as Knoxville is known to do, goes through the table himself ringside. Beck gets a 2 count after the Asiatic spike. Braxton comes back, though. Big boot and F5 combination. Knight Wagner's out and breaks the pin on that, so we're not even done with Knight Wagner shenanigans. Revolution come out and just start stomping away at Braxton. They eventually like knock him unconscious and drag him out of the match in and of its entirety. So
Where are they going with this? They're carrying Braxton.
it's down to Beck and Knoxville, at least like physically at ringside. There hasn't, you know, again, no eliminations. They just dragged Braxton away. Beck brings Knoxville into the ring. Gets a flash 2 count against him, though. Knoxville goes all Billy Kidman off a powerbomb attempt. Knoxville hits a choke slam for a big 2 count. Beck bomb, big power bomb by Beck through 2 chairs, and then hits the Asiatic spike again for the 3 count. Mason Beck retains. And again, like, multi-man matches I don't ever do justice for. But this is wild and woolly. The action was almost non-stop with random twists and turns. Because again, like, just had the Revolution show up and just carry Braxton out. What's going on? Is he being indoctrinated? We wouldn't find out till later. And what happens later is destruction. But yeah, so we're not done yet, though. The match may be over, but Beck isn't done. After Knoxville kind of like gets his like win back, Beck dinks him with the title belt and hits an apron buckle bomb for 2 times. So 2 apron buckle bombs, despite my weird, you know, attempted grammar there. And Knoxville has to be stretchered out because, well. Big dummy. So that was a lot of stuff to unpack. We have some more action, of course, so we'll call this our wind down match. Johnny Wisdom, future SCW World Heavyweight Champion, will take on the man that cannot be hit in Latin Thunder. I'm just going to throw out real quick, like, that I'm not going to, like, put it out there just so everyone else doesn't have to deal with it. The camera is so focus. Despite this, though, I think the mass of blur that looks like Latin Thunder starts off very strong. However, Johnny Wisdom takes the advantage after going for Latin Thunder's mask, as the camera then refocuses. Thunder, though, comes back, hits a top rope Rana, and, like, they're both really big dudes, surprisingly for, like, the luchador in there. But Thunder hits a big top rope Brana. We fight outside the ring. We come inside, and Thunder hits a super Rana from there. But Wisdom gets into the ropes for a 2 count. Latin Thunder goes up to the top rope again, misses a moonsault, went to the well too many times, and whatever metaphor you want to throw out there, allowing Johnny Wisdom to be Midwest strong style strong and hit a lariat for the 3 count. This match was short and sweet. Again, like, nothing wrong with that, especially with the last match being so crazy, and then our next match, well, also going to be crazy, but the main event, so it's going to be a whole nother different type of crazy. You know, so we needed something to kind of cleanse the palate and bring the crowd kind of back down to a baseline level. But otherwise, you know, a lot of fun to be had there as well. Latin Thunder was over at the time. He's still very over now. SCW quasi-original, much like Wisdom is as well. All right, it is time for our main event of the evening. Joe Asa taking on the now returned full-time and been returned for like the next 5 years, Shane Hollister. Hollister has come out of retirement at this point. He retired a handful of years prior. But of course this is pro wrestling, so no one stays retired forever. He is back after much, we'll call it physical goading by Asa. Asa has been attacking all sorts of people in SCW, people that are considered legends, going so far to attack SCW Commissioner San Moro, which indirectly then brought the Shug back into the fold. So, this is Shane Hollister, the Shug's big return match. And Shug starts the party by getting slapped in the face, and oh no, we are not taking any of that, ladies and gentlemen. And Shug is just all over. A ball of fire, if you will, is in control until Asa catches a baseball slide. Commentary just takes all the piss out of Asa, trying to take a count-out victory, which on one hand I very much get, but evidently I'm the heel and thinking like, hey, a win's a win. They're going to pay me just as much if I win as if by count-out, if I do by actually pinning my opponent. But guess that's why I'm a heel on camera now instead of a fiery babyface winning television matches. Anywho, so Asa's in control. Commentary's not a fan of that. Shug makes it in before the 10 count. You'll see Rant earlier in the show. And he's a ball of fire again, a flurry of offense. But Asa rolls outside and eats a tope suicida for his efforts. Asa slides under the guardrail and bounces back off with a springboard forearm. I guess technically it's a springboard forearm. I mean, it doesn't really spring because it's the guardrail, but that was really neat to see. And this is kind of like the point where, like, you could actually almost see me in the crowd too. So, like, that guardrail's like 3 rows in front of me, which will like make the next like batch of things like absolutely horrifying. But spoiler alert on that. But we'll come back. So that was really nice and really neat to see. Shug counters a dive with a power bomb, gets a 2 count inside the ring there. Asa and Shug trade submission maneuvers, but Shug gets into the ropes. Shug gives Asa Tyler Breeze super kick in the turnbuckle, where his head's placed in the turnbuckle area, and big kick. Yes, I tried to do a big kick seated at my desk area here, where you can only see me from here up. Can't even get my leg that high. That is how athletic I am, or at least that's how far I can lift my leg from a seated position. Anywho, back at it. Tyler Breeze super kick was fun to see live. Asa hits a Blue Thunder powerbomb for 2. Shug though catches a Chokla attempt and hooklocks in the STF. We get a big pile driver on the ring apron. And we are down on the floor once again, but I'll allow the pile driver because we're not done brawling here. As Shug then gets chucked into the crowd, mere feet from where I happen to be, and then yeah. Yeah. That was horrifying. That was horrifying to see live. I mean, from my position, I know I'm switching in back and forth from like commentator to, you know, real person spectator on this, but like the dude was less than 10 feet away from me, and I thought he broke his back because he landed like from my position, he looked like he landed like small to back right on the guardrail and then just like flopped over and then didn't move, which again, part of that could be selling, part of that wind being knocked out of him. I mean, a combination of things. But that was just really, really scary to see live, and, you know, still makes me cringe just seeing it at a different angle where it doesn't, like, the angle doesn't quite do it justice for that. Despite all this, somehow Asa beats the count, makes it inside the ring. Asa still defiant to the end. We get some a snap German suplex, followed up by Suge hitting his big buzzsaw kick. That is his big finish. That is it. 1, 2, 3 after the buzzsaw. Shane Hollister is your winner. Suge gets on the mic after the fact, announces that he is going to be back full-time in SCW, and he was, and he still is today, multiple-time SCW World Heavyweight Champion. The match, you know, was great, despite the abject terror of watching Joe Asa try to paralyze himself on the guardrail. I say this flippantly, but again, horrifying to watch live. You know, it's one of the rare occasions I checked in on someone with social media. Like, I'm not a great social media person if you guys bother to follow me at all. But I'm like, hey, like, are you okay? Can you eat, you know? And he responded with a Forrest Gump gif with Lieutenant Dan, so all is well. And he continued to evolve as a character despite, you know, crashing and burning in that one scenario. But we all crash and burn at least once in our lives, right? Just not always back first into a guardrail. But Asa has gotten some opportunities with AEW and Impact Wrestling since this time. So, I mean, things have gone well for him overall. But that was our show. To a lot of me talking, interspersed with rando clips in there. Like, you know, again, very flippant about certain things, but a lot of fun was had. Like, I thoroughly enjoy SCW, and if you are in the Southeast Iowa area, specifically in Quad Cities, Illinois, Iowa there, you know, check it out. Like, again, it is a lot of fun. Small atmosphere makes for a great experience, at least when it, like, in my opinion, when it comes to professional wrestling, and SCW puts on a great show. So, that is all I got. I'll throw in like the cheap pluggy stuff in there. So like in the descriptor, of course, check out my social media. And I got the Twitter and Facebook and obviously this YouTube channel. Hit, you know, eventually buttons may come up, but it'll hit you to tell you to like and subscribe. So if you like this thing, like, subscribe it, you know, tell your friends, family, your enemies, all that sort of good stuff. You know, just follow pro wrestling, love pro wrestling. And, you know, if you really like to support monetarily, maybe let me have some editing equipment so it's not just all weird jump cuts and random explosions. You can do so via the Patreon at patreon.com/Casanova. Link will be in the descriptor as well. Everybody who subscribes will get early access to anything that pops up on the YouTube, early access to the MLW Confusion podcast, of course, as well, plus exclusive content and better goodies as you donate, you know, bit more money and whatnot. So if nothing else, you get early access to all the cool stuff I do, and get the warm fuzzy feeling that karma brings your way as well. Also, if you prefer something a bit more tangible, things you can hold in your hand, do have merch. Link in below. Mostly t-shirts, but for some odd reason there's coffee mugs and leggings. If you ever wondered what's going on with this here t-shirt, wearing my own merch, because I am not a pretentious prick at all. Hey, but if you like some of the designs, this comes from a webcomic called Chronically Symptom. Got some other cool designs up there as well, especially putting over professional wrestling, which, despite, you know, how negative I can come off at times, is really all I want to do, because there is nothing greater in the world than the sport of professional wrestling. So thank you for supporting me. Go support SCW as well, because I'm going to pretend they're not going to get this video taken down despite the Billy Gunn match and all that good stuff. So yeah, support them too. Throw their links in there as well, because I love them. So should you.